G'day and welcome to Inforunners part 2. So we tried recording this yesterday and we stuffed it up. So we're going to do it again.
Yes. There was a media file. It was out to mute us, but we've got it back this time.
Yeah, so we got that fixed. We'll try this again. So this was a little bonus video for me and Algrid because we found that there was basically some things with the Crucible that we forgot to say that we really thought was important, I guess. So we've kind of gone back. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think part of it was it had been so long since we'd actually looked that we'd forgotten a lot of the stuff. And I think you mentioned one to me, and then I was like, oh yeah, and then I found that, and then there was something else, and then we thought, oh, we better watch the video again, and we were just pulling things. It just felt like my love for the Crucible was actually just reinvigorated.
There's definitely, like as you said when we recorded this last time, there was definitely a few things that we thought were going to be like 2 or 3 things, and there was a whole bunch of stuff that came out of it. So, so we're going to go through those. We're going to be relating to a video specifically, and you'll find that I'll link that video down below. But what that video is them showing off the white box of the Crucible just before the ship was about to go on sale from 5 years ago. And the first thing that came up to me in Algrid was like, why don't they do these videos in as much detail as before? And the jump point that we had to pull up from a really old jump point that we pulled up, so much more detail than they ever share today. So it really was just a real refresher on how much information is out there and how much they don't share as much. But Algrid?
Yeah, and it's not that they don't share. That was the other thing. We know that they still share crap loads. The thing that was getting us was just compared to, I suppose, what they're sharing is different, and
not as much detail as they do now. Like, it was like just everything, and now it's very tailored and shorter, and and it's not as raw. It's not just like these grey boxes, and you've got to imagine a fair bit. Now it's a lot more high quality. It's got to be all high quality.
And I think in some ways we've brought that on ourselves as viewers, because we'd always, we want more, and if there was something wrong, there was always that level of not necessarily complaint, but it did come across in some ways as being a complaint. And so, if people are taking to heart the criticisms on their work, they do get a bit, I don't want to show it until it's perfect. So.
So you've got the first note here about page 25. Now, I can't actually remember what the hell that was about, so I'm going to let you take that first one from page 25.
So on page 25, we have a question from one of the designers, and he says, can I repair a Vanguard? Because the Vanguard doesn't look like it's going to fit in that little scarab place. And they're talking, in that design, they're talking about the repair version. And I've got to stress that, because originally they were talking possibly three versions: the repair version with the big hangar that could take a Hornet or a Aurora or a Gladius. Then there was going to be the rearm refuel version, which had a smaller hangar or a smaller garage, but crap tons more storage for ammunition and fuel and coolants and all that stuff. And then there was the tug version, which had a really small garage, but a lot more tractor beams added on. And so they're talking about the big one.
And we'll show you that too in a minute when we look at the PDF. So
so they're talking about the big one. And the question is, can this repair the Vanguard? Because because it looks too small. And the question from Ryan Church, who was designing it, was that Chris's idea was, this is a quote, Chris's idea was that the Crucible has tractor beam grapplers to hold it in close formation with the ship being repaired, and external arms that would extend to do the work. And they're the arms that are on those long legs that you can see in some of the other artwork.
So there's arms inside the scarab, but there's also arms on the inside of those really big arms that come out. So essentially, for the Vanguard, you'd have to have the scarab come out, and then it would be able to repair a bigger ship like the Vanguard. And in the video, it even has constellations and retaliators, doesn't it?
Kind of parked in the place.
Yeah.
So that's quite interesting. And there is a point that comes in from our last point, but I'll save that for later. It talks about that is relevant to what it can repair and where it can repair them. So
I'd just like to...
There's a bit of speculation on where or when, but...
I'd just like to say thank you to our mate Grim Starjump for his really nice little render movie that he happened to bring out just at the perfect time for this video, by the way. So, yeah, thanks to that, Grim. I thought you'd done a really good job with that, man, so I thought I'd pimp it off a little bit. The other thing here in the that really stood out to me, Algrid, was the drones. And one of the things that, like, just as a line... this ship really nails a coffin, nail in the coffin for the Vulcan for me.
The Vulcan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it takes away the drones, and the big thing we're going to mention at the end that we completely forgot about just totally kills the Vulcan for me, especially at its $220 price point. But we'll leave that right for the end. Repair, refuel, refitting, 2 minutes compared to also Jumpoint variants. I think you're
so if we go to the Jumpoint. The first Jumpoint scene, I think that should be the lovely one that has.
Yep.
And if we go up a little, if we go pull it down a little bit, you can actually see the landing gear, which is nice as well, because that's a really nice picture of the landing gear. So on our first one, people were saying, "Can it land?" That's just one of the pictures we've got of the Crucible landed.
I'll go to the other one in just a sec after we talk about this stuff. But yeah, you can see the other one as well in a minute.
But there were the 3 variants that they were looking at.
Yeah, just here.
And then the next page down's got the description of what they were. And I'm not sure.
I don't know if they'll keep these. I was just going to say, I don't know if it's going to keep these anymore because, like, we've obviously seen the SRV now. But I think you and I would kind of agree that you could kind of compare the repair and resupply together.
Yeah. Well, even keep going.
I was going to say because of the SCU, you and I found out it's got the old metrics was 36 SCU and it's now what 200 and I'm reading here 230 we've got written down. So
yeah,
that eats the 12 the Vulcan has for breakfast.
But in the 2-minute mark on the video, the guy who was building it said, again, he's talking about the big version of the Crucible, the repair version, and he says. It's got repair, refuel, refitting things that because you want to be able to do all of that. So, can this ship rearm, refuel, and repair? Yes.
And
can it do?
That I was going to say, sorry, that cargo bay was actually quite substantial. It reminded me of the Constellation or even a Hammerhead in a way, like the way that like it all comes down and you put it all in and then it just kind of raises back up into the ship. So that's not a small cargo capacity by any means. Like, I don't want to say you could put a vehicle in. I'm not going to say you can, but like it was pretty big. So yeah, interesting.
But you don't need to because it's got a ramp.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll go on to the next picture then and show that off a little bit. I think. So this is the landing gear. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. I went to the wrong one. Sorry, this one. So this one's you can see there a lot more clearly that it's definitely got landing gear. And here on this top one, you can definitely see the ramp folded down. And just to kind of prove that point, there's actually a line here from Chris Roper itself where it says the ramp seems like a good idea if you have a vehicle in the garage. So he was already thinking about vehicles before vehicles were even announced.
I just keep going to Chris's comment because Chris goes on to something you actually said, wouldn't it be great if you could leave it planet side? We would also want to be able to leave the workshop on a planet surface or ditched in space, tethered to an asteroid. So in answer to the question, could you leave it on the planet? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was something I brought up. It'd be really cool if the Scarab itself had some form of landing gear. Because that kind of I guess do you want to talk about the last point now? I guess we will.
Why not?
So Algrid found this sweet little gem that I thought was really interesting. So I'll let you read that, Algrid. But I'm going to highlight it then unhighlight because I kind of can't read it. But go ahead.
Is on and this is the concept sale of the Crucible. If you go into the website, you just go to concept sale and you can actually pull that up and it goes through the different layers. But the quote goes: "The external clamshell doors can be opened in depressurized mode, allowing the crew access to repair larger ships, making the Crucible capable of servicing everything from a Constellation to a Bengal. The Scarab can also be dropped in space and can remain in a fully functional temporary station while the cab performs other duties. And that, for us, was just like, how did we forget that?
Yeah, because I said to Agro, I said, like, at the very simplest effort, you could literally drop it, and you could actually have the Scarab fixing fighters, and you could be right next door repairing a bigger ship, and just have someone EVAing backwards and forwards for components or whatnot. Like that's amazing. So that's essentially become two ships in one. It's crazy.
And for me, that is the thing that blows the Vulcan out of the water, especially when you consider the crew size of a Vulcan.
Not to even mention adding my little analogy, adding the drones to that. The drones could be going backwards and forwards, taking the stuff over. It's just lunacy.
But remember how many crew, one of the arguments against people buying this ship, I don't know whether it'll have a crew. The Vulcan is a 3-crew ship.
Yeah.
2 drone operators and the pilot. This is a 4-crew ship. 4 crew.
Which is only 1 more, which is kind of crazy, but it does have 7 stations. So that actually gives more to do. Really, you're not just stuck to those drone stations or driving.
No, well, technically, if you're a co-pilot, you are stuck to those stations because the drone station also is your drone station, your arm station, your navigate. They've actually got the stations doing multiple jobs or being able to swap between the jobs because of what they want it to do. And so, it's got 7 positions or 7 jobs you could do, but really, you've got your engineer, your drone operator or your arm operators, and your pilot. And if you're sitting on station doing stuff, your pilot's probably running around doing the extra stuff. So
but what I'm trying to get at is it just gives you more variety of things to do, having more stations than there are crew. I think there's 2 kind of things left I want to talk about. One of them was the negative that we kind of talk about this ship, which was it has they put it as a positive, like having lots of exits and entrances, but
and it is a positive.
But obviously, what we talked about was it also makes it very easy to access.
So
if you're trying to board them.
If you're easy to egress and you want, you're a repair ship, you want to be able to get to the area you want to repair quickly. And so that top bridge area where most of the crew are has exits. There's exits and airlocks all over the place, so you can actually get in, get suits. And because you can open the cab up, there's airlocks in there, so you can get kitted out. But all of those exits also mean that while you can get out repairing things really easily, other people could be getting in really easily. So it's a bitch of a ship to defend.
So while we got that graphic up, the last kind of big thing we found was, so as those back engines can move and rotate along the ship to change with the weight, is they can actually, when they go into its default state, they perfectly line up and you can actually go into the engines and it can repair itself. So, so unlike other ships, it can do its own function on itself, which is kind of crazy to me. It's essentially never going to break down unless you don't have the components.
The pilot can go into the engine itself and go, oh, yeah, I need to tweak that. And you can't do that on the Vulcan. You can't do that on... I don't think there's any other ship you can do that on where you can actually get in the nacelle and do that. And that was that was just almost a little throwaway line, wasn't it, in the video? He says, if you look at these engine bits, when you go into repair mode, these actually line up with this porthole so you can get into the engine and repair it. Just a throwaway. Just a little added extra that it can do.
So they were just some of the highlights that we feel that we missed, and we thought we were not doing you guys justice by not redoing a video to kind of highlight that, and we hope that is just in conjunction with the last video we did, like if you can combine both videos together, really elevates this ship. Not as high as the Endeavour, obviously, but you can see why it's one of the reasons we recommend this ship so much. I just even again that animation in the background, I've showed this to Sear and he's like, oh, that was amazing, and I've shown it to several people and they just I think it's reinvigorated what people are thinking this ship could be.
And certainly that front ramp thing, whether that remains a ramp, whether that is a ramp, unsure, because even in the white box, they had a ramp that was kind of in the middle of that bay that came down. If that ramp is big enough for vehicles, if it's wide, even if they're using that middle ramp in the middle, if that's wide enough for a tonk, then this kills the Hercules as well.
Yeah.
In terms of being that tank, the only ship that carries the tonk.
The last time I saw a picture of it, Algrid, it could fit 6 in there, but I don't think that kind of accounts for the tables and stuff around the side.
Yeah.
But even if you look at the sides of the Gladius there, I'd expect to be able to fit maybe 4 in there comfortably with room to move.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
Or 3. Even at 2, it still puts the Hercules in doubt in my book. I've just had a thought too.
How many can the Hercules take?
2.
The Hercules can only take 2. So I would imagine that it takes 2 end to end. Yeah. And that's the normal fit.
Do you remember I was talking earlier about the landing gear on the Scarab? I've just kind of connected a couple of dots here, and it's a little bit of speculation, but you know how you're talking about the tractor beams to hold the bigger ships? What if it just tractor beams the pod off the surface? So you can actually fly down, put the tractor beams lower, and just literally pick it up into its own bay. You might not actually need landing gear because it could just lay flat on the surface. Just saying. Yeah. So you might even what I'm saying there, guys, is essentially you could have the pod on the surface repairing vehicles while you're having the ship up in Atmo actually repairing ships. That could be quite insane.
The simple fact that pod is a standalone, thing. As Chris said, either left on the planet. That quote from Chris. Left on the planet or tethered to an asteroid by itself, repairing stuff as a kind of temporary base. There's not too many ships where we've actually had that type of thing stated. There's speculation that the Carrack with its science labs could do that.
Just tethering, Algrid. That's something that we haven't kind of really even gone into, So what? How does that apply to other ships? So so we're going down the rabbit hole now a bit here, but we've kind of really talked about just this one Scarab. If this actually has different Scarabs as well, you can all of a sudden see this ship could go to much other areas. And look, some other little speculation points. Those tractor beams. If that tractor beam can pull a ship behind it, can it warp with it? It actually starts to become a combination of the SRV and the Vulcan. And when you get stuff, you start running those thoughts through your head, it's like, whoa, hang on a minute, this ship kind of goes to another level. Can you pull a cargo crate with you to somewhere else? Can you bring salvage back? Does it start to work even more with the Reclaimer than we've stated previously?
Yeah, if it can fill the role of the SRV, people are talking about I've heard people talk about getting the SRV to work in conjunction with the repair or even the Crucible to be able to bring them back to the Crucible or bring them back for the Reclaimer to do the munching on. If this can actually tractor them, then you may not need that SRV.
True.
And the fact that you've got that. The thing that blows me away is that garage. It can be dropped on a planet as a base. It can be tethered to an asteroid field as a base. It can work independently. It's got 4 internal arms, and you're to repair. And it's just. I was hoping I'd be able to do this with less gush, but I'm.
But it was when you and I looked at this stuff. That's kind of the reason we're doing the video. We were like, wow, we forgot so much stuff. And it was Is there anything else you want to add, Algo, before we kind of wrap up? I think.
I think we've covered everything. Not in the same order we were originally planning it.
Yeah, it's gone all over the shop, but it's fine.
Today it's gone all over, hasn't it? But
it's fine.
I
was just going to say I'll do the hashtag Jaden thing in the comments. Yep. So if we're doing an F7A and Super Hornet giveaway, Eric Jaden Lanza unfortunately passed away, and his friend that had bought the ship for him to fly as unfortunately wants to give it away. So his friend would want it to be flown, so he's wanting to give it away to a good home. So if you subscribe, leave hashtag Jaden in the comments, and we'll give it away when we hit 12.5k subscribers.
2.5, we're already past that.
Yeah, so yeah. Let us know in the comments. has those extra little bits that we've added really added anything to, like, changed your thoughts on the Crucibles? Because we'd forgotten them, and we're pretty sure you guys have got them. Again, the video will be in the description below, and I'll try and put the episode number of Jumpoint in the description below as well.
It's volume 3, number 12.
All right, I'll get that off you in a minute. All right, other than that, is there anything you'd like to add, Alfred? Like, subscribe, all that stuff.
Leave your comments, like, subscribe, do all of that stuff. If you want to go the extra mile, we do have Patreon, or you could nitro us on Discord. Yep. Join us on Discord, join the discussion. We'll pretty much join any talk on Star Citizen. We love talking Star Citizen, which is why we do the channel. Definitely.
All right. He's been Algrid. I've been Execute, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Take care.